right, V&A. Let's get to some headlines from across the state of Texas. There are a number of them to get to. We'll kind of go big picture and then zoom in because probably the biggest news that came down last week has nothing to do directly, well, that's not true. The biggest news to come down last week doesn't have to do with an individual school, but rather the governing body of Texas high school football and Texas high school football athletics. And that is that the UIL, the governing body of Texas high school athletics and especially Texas high school football, has named their new executive director. You may remember that about a year ago, Dr. Charles Breidup, the longtime executive director of the UIL, announced that he would be retiring, hanging it up. He's been with the UIL for 50 years. It's been a long, long time. He's going to retire and opening up the head job there at the UIL. This is, in some ways, if you want to consider it, the closest thing we have to a commissioner of Texas high school football. That's what the executive director of the UIL is. Obviously, there's an athletic director and things like that, but this is the head honcho of the largest sports organization in Texas high school athletics. And the UIL has named Dr. Jamie Harrison to be their next executive director. He's actually taking over tomorrow, April 1st. He will be taking over as the new executive director of the UIL. This is the opposite of a surprise. This feels like the most natural move, and I think if you go back and you check the tape, when we talked about Dr. Charles Breidup's retirement, we immediately identified Dr. Jamie Harrison, who has been the deputy executive director of the UIL since 2011, as the prime candidate to succeed him. This is about as a no-brainer hire as it gets for the UIL, but as Matt Stepp says, layups are worth 2 points too. Dr. Jamie Harrison has been there, been with them since 2011, and actually played basketball for Dr. Charles Breidup. I don't know if you knew that. He was one of his star players. But Dr. Harrison has been intimately involved in all of the operations with the UIL, essentially since his arrival in 2011. I would also tell you that I am very interested to see if and how things change at the top. What I mean by that is that Dr. Harrison, in my experience, and I don't think he will take this as an insult because I mean it as a compliment, he is a very in the weeds type guy. And what I mean by that is specifically with UIL realignment, this is the guy who is in the map room. This is the guy who's drawn out who's got the explanation for all of the things. He has been the guy that, for example, when we get together at state championship games and we're just chatting, we're just talking about the nitty gritty of UIL realignment. Dr. Breidup, I think, has been a little bit more of the big picture guy. He knows that stuff and he's very involved in it. But Dr. Harrison, I think, has been more of the nitty gritty individual, hey, where are we putting this team in alignment type thing. That's what I'm very interested in is how that helps to shape what the UIL operates like going forward. But Dr. Jamie Harrison, it was always the natural successor to Dr. Charles Breidup there at the executive director of the UIL. Dr. Charles Breidup, the legacy he leaves there is, I will just say this for Dr. Harrison, I think he'd say the same thing. The shoes he's got to fill are pretty big, but because Dr. Breidup is kind of a giant in the UIL and in Texas high school athletics, but Dr. Jamie Harrison, the promoter from deputy executive director, always a natural fit. This felt like the slam dunk hire, and the UIL made it. Dr. Jamie Harrison, starting tomorrow, will be the new UIL executive director. Let's get to some other coaching changes around the state. We're going to start in Edna. This is a bit of a bizarre story. That Edna is open, and they are looking for a new head coach after they have reassigned Jimmy Mitchell, their head coach. What's strange about this is that, so this was first reported by Mike Foreman of the Victoria Advocate, our friend Mike, down there in the Crossroads. Edna has been to the state semifinals 3 consecutive years. Went 14-1 last year. This guy, over the course, he took over in 2020. Jimmy Mitchell's been 54-15 there. He's been wildly successful at this 3A Division I program in Edna. But there were rumors circulating for the past couple of weeks that Jimmy Mitchell's contract had been non-renewed by the school board. And then Jimmy Mitchell, getting his contract non-renewed, said, all right, I would like to be reassigned within the district. So he is out as the head coach of Edna. And this is a bizarre story. You don't see coaches who are this successful get reassigned like this, get non-renewed by the school board, and then get reassigned. So something's up here. That's a very attractive job, by the way, down there in South Texas. This is a very, very attractive job. Interested to see where things go there, but keep an eye on this one. Edna is now open with Jimmy Mitchell being reassigned there. Something to keep an eye on. Also, this is some late breaking news from our Matt Stepp. I don't actually know if it's on. I do actually. It's on the website now. That Blanco has come open. Blanco, Jamie Dixon, has stepped down as the head coach at Blanco. He has been another guy who's been wildly successful. Their 64-25 record there at Vanderbilt Industrial, and then at Blanco, where he went 26-12 in the past 3 seasons. Another very successful coach there who is leaving a job open. Blanco is open as Jamie Dixon has stepped aside there. Keep an eye on that one. My guess on that, this is a guess, that my guess in reading the tea leaves is that he's not done coaching and that he's going to be looking for another job. So keep an eye on that one. But Blanco is open with Jamie Dixon stepping down. Elsewhere across the state of Texas, let's talk a little bit about Copperas Cove. Is that the next one we have up? I think so. Copperas Cove has been one of the more attractive jobs out there for quite some time. We've been interested to see where this Central Texas power was going to land. And they have found their new head coach, and it is a pretty darn decorated head coach. And that is that Rodney Southern, the former Huntsville coach, is going to be taking over there at Copperas Cove, moving from kind of the piney woods behind the pine curtain there to Central Texas to take over there with the Bulldogs with a W there at Copperas Cove. He has been really successful there at Huntsville, and figured he would not be looking for a job all that long. This is a guy who took over at Huntsville back in 2014. Took them to a couple of 10-win seasons. Very successful there. But Huntsville head coach Rodney Southern moving over to take over at Copperas Cove. That is a big move there to a kind of sleeping giant there in Central Texas. Keep an eye on that one. To the DFW area we go. One of the jobs we've had our eye on has been Mansfield Timberview. Mansfield Timberview has been looking for a head coach since Robert DeSanto stepped down back in February after 2 seasons. They have made a hire, and I think it's a pretty splashy hire. They've hired Jacody Coleman, the now former head coach of Dallas Skyline. He's leaving Dallas Skyline to take over there at Mansfield Timberview. This is a high talent program there at Timberview. This is a program that has made deep playoff runs before, and Jacody Coleman is no stranger to coaching high-powered and highly talented programs there at Dallas Skyline. This is a big get for Mansfield Timberview. I would imagine the Dallas Skyline will be a pretty highly sought-after job there within Dallas ISD. I know the dynamics within Dallas ISD have shifted essentially since the departure of Reginald Samples when he left Dallas Skyline to go over to Duncanville. But Dallas Skyline, there are things in place within Dallas ISD that make Dallas Skyline a very attractive job, in the sense that I believe that they can pull from a variety of different areas. And so the talent there has a very high upside. Keep an eye on Dallas Skyline. That's a very attractive opening, but Mansfield Timberview gets a good one, Chakotay Coleman. And finally, staying within Dallas ISD, the last one I want to bring up, this is a bit of a bizarre story, but Woodrow Wilson within Dallas ISD, they've been looking for a job, or they've been looking for a coach since John Fish left. John Fish left to go to back to Frisco ISD. So they've been looking for a head coach there at Woodrow Wilson. Woodrow Wilson, I think we've talked about it, how since basically aside from South Oak Cliff, they've probably been the second best team, most consistent team in Dallas ISD. They had made a hire in Paul Beatty, the longtime assistant coach at DeSoto. And I actually got text messages from friends saying, hey, the community's really fired up about Paul Beatty taking over there at Woodrow Wilson. And I said, you absolutely should be. Well, then comes word last week that, in fact, psych, the job is coming open. Woodrow Wilson is coming back open. Dallas ISD put out a statement saying that Coach Beatty would be stepping down due to citing a personal family matter. He was the head coach there for about a couple weeks. Matt Stepp reports on last week that there were rumors began to circulate early Monday, this was last week, March 24th, that something was amiss after a text from the Woodrow Wilson principal to the Wildcats coaching staff that Beatty would not be present during off-season workouts. Well, that's the first red flag. And so we don't know what's happening to Paul Beatty. Maybe he's going back to rejoin the staff at DeSoto, but DeSoto may have been trying to backfill that. All that's to say, Woodrow Wilson back on the market, looking for a head coach after Paul Beatty resigns, essentially steps down after essentially like a week there at Woodrow Wilson. It's a bit of a bizarre thing. They're going to make a decision here this week, April 4th. We'll find out what happens there, but Woodrow Wilson going through a bit of a tumultuous coaching search there as it is now back open. And that is the headlines from across the state of Texas.